A show of solidarity between French President Francois Hollande and U.S. President Barack Obama. The leaders met in Washington to discuss the fallout from that downed Russian fighter and the fight against ISIL. CCTV's White House correspondent Jessica Stone is joining us now live from the White House with the latest.
And Mike, we are just learning from the White House that President Barack Obama has recently spoken with Turkish President Recep Erdogan about the incident over the Turkey-Syria border and asked him to work on de-escalating his country's relationship with Russia, but also did support Turkey's right to sovereignty. You know, for Francois Hollande, the French president, his mission was entirely to come here and get the U.S. and Russia to work more closely together in the fight against ISIL. And this downing of this plane has certainly made that much harder. Moments of compassion and solidarity between the leaders of France and the United States, but no new measures to fight ISIL. Instead, the leaders are now trying to manage the fallout from a Russian airplane shot down by Turkish F-16s on Tuesday.
Mais nous devons éviter toute escalade.
We must prevent an escalation. That would be extremely damaging. The only purpose is to fight against terrorism and Daesh.
My top priority is going to be to ensure that this does not escalate.
French President Francois Hollande and U.S. President Barack Obama are united in their belief that their 65-member coalition against ISIL needs Russia's help to bring about political transition in Syria. But only a Russia who strikes ISIL, not just Syrian opposition forces, will be welcome. Hollande, who had hoped to find common ground between Washington and Moscow, will now tell Russia it has to change course.
Pour y rencontrer Vladimir Poutine.
I will tell him France can work together with Russia if Russia concentrates its military action against ISIL and fully commits to a political solution in Syria.
Given Russia's military capabilities and given the influence they have on the Assad regime, them cooperating would be enormously helpful in bringing about resolution of the civil war in Syria and allow us all to refocus our attention on ISIL.
Hollande says the UN Security Council vote last week gives non-coalition members reason to join the military mission against ISIL too. He says the priority now is to increase anti-ISIL strikes, take back key locations, and close the Turkey-Syrian border to keep militants from returning to Europe. And Mike, the upcoming Paris climate talks, which begin next week, will also give both of these leaders a chance to work with many of the other coalition members on this very issue. For Hollande's part, he says that every national leader who comes to Paris after the Paris attacks, that by doing so, just by doing so, they're showing solidarity with France and the rest of the coalition against ISIL.
So, Jessica, what does all of this mean for the political transition talks that will take place in Vienna?
Well, clearly Russia has a role to play with bringing Assad to the negotiations, and clearly Turkey has a role to play bringing opposition groups that it supports to the table. The real question is whether they'll want to come to negotiations if they're continually struck by those Russian strikes. So that just underscores the importance of both Turkey and Russia and the political transition going forward in Syria.
All right, Jessica, thanks so much for that live report from the White House.